everyone, I am Ayush Prasad from the Funtastic Academy. So, today we are going to finish off our series about microbes. We are going to talk about the last two types. What were the last two types? Algae and... now remember, virus. I mean, there aren't any big viruses going out in the world. Definitely not any that have killed hundreds of millions of people. But anyhow, let's start with algae. Oh, wait, I think I'm forgetting something. The quiz question from last episode. What is the microbe that causes malaria? If you guessed Plasmodium, you are correct. Specifically, it's Plasmodium falciparum. Now that we've got that covered, we can go on to talk about algae. Algae are divided into two types. Macroalgae, macro means big, and microalgae. Let's talk about macroalgae first. Macroalgae are more commonly referred to as, drumroll please, seaweed. Now all algae, macro and micro, are similar to plants in that they make energy using photosynthesis. If you feel a bit insecure about the concepts underlying photosynthesis, watch our chemical reactions video in the chemistry playlist. But this isn't a chemistry video, it's a biology video. So let's talk about macroalgae. Now macroalgae makes energy from photosynthesis just like all algae. And now what are the parts of seaweed? This might sound like a hilarious question, and it is. The parts of seaweed are quite similar to the parts of a plant, except in name. The names are quite different. The holdfast is pretty much the same thing as the root. It holds the seaweed to the seabed. The fronds are basically the same thing as the leaves. They collect energy for photosynthesis. And then you have the float, which is similar to nothing. It's a thing that only seaweed has. The float is filled with air, and so this air makes the float, and thus the whole plant float. It's not so simple. Now, those are the different parts of seaweed. Now, here's a fun fact for you. One class of macroalgae is called red algae, and one type of red algae is Irish moss. So Irish moss is red algae, which is macroalgae, which is algae, which is microbes. But we're not here to talk about that. You see, Irish moss has a chemical in it called carrageenan. When we extract carrageenan, we get a substance that we can use the production of food products as well as toothpaste. That's right, you may be brushing with an algal byproduct. Quite strange. But for now, let's move on to macroalgae. Wait, there's one question left to be answered before we move. You see, red algae, don't algae make energy using photosynthesis? Then why would red algae appear red? Photosynthesis needs chlorophyll, and chlorophyll is green, right? Well, red algae does have chlorophyll in it, it also has a lot of other things in it, and those other things make it appear red. This is also why if you live in temperate regions, during the fall, the leaves of the tree will appear reddish, orangish, yellowish, brownish, because the other pigments overpower the chlorophyll. Okay, now let's move on to microalgae. are more commonly referred to as phytoplankton. Now, they are divided into two types, which are diatoms and dinoflagellum. Gee, this is getting complicated. Have you ever been to a lake and seen some green stuff going on it? It looks kind of like scum. Well, if the answer is yes, then you have seen phytoplankton in action. This is green color because chlorophyll, and it's mostly in water. So the light passes through the water and gives the phytoplankton the energy that is required to run photosynthesis. However, some phytoplankton don't live in the ocean. For example, there's a red type of microalgae. It's technically not red algae. Red algae refers to macroalgae, the macroalgae that's red. But anyway, there are red microalgae, and this red microalgae called Chlamydomonas nivalis chlamydomonas. Gee, that is a complicated name. It's found in some snow, and it makes the snow appear red. Seriously, dude, Google image red snow in Antarctica, and you'll see images like this. Seriously, the fact that it even exists is impressive, but the fact it's caused by microscopic organisms is even more impressive. Fun fact, phytoplankton in the early days of Earth's life contributed majorly to Earth's oxygenation. That is how Earth got all its oxygen. Even now, it contributes 2/3 of the oxygen in the atmosphere. Okay, so what did we learn today? Here's a quick recap. We learned that algae are divided into two parts, macroalgae and microalgae. We learned that macroalgae is just seaweed, and we learned about the parts of seaweed. We learned that microalgae are further divided into two types. What are these two types? Diatoms and dinoflagellates. We learned that red-colored algae can do a whole lot of things, including create breathtaking scenery and help in toothpaste production. And finally, we learned that algae helps a whole deal lot in Earth's oxygen production. Those are some really cool facts. Now, let's do the quiz question for today. That's the quiz question. I know. What's the chemical obtained from Irish moss that helps in toothpaste production? Tell me